Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming to watch another episode of Spilling Ink, the talk show that takes you behind the scenes to meet the authors and artists in the publishing industry. Tonight, we have three very special guests, but first, I want to introduce my lovely co host, Miss Katie Salidas.
Hello! It's been a while. We've been off air for what, 3 weeks?
Oh my God, yes. We actually had work to do. However, my West Coast co host was totally slacking, running around the country doing conventions, and I don't even know what she was. It was all just excuse after excuse, wasn't it?
I know, and I'm still making them too because I still haven't posted the video from Tucson.
Oh my gosh, yes. I suppose I'm gonna have to look at that. But I love your outfit tonight, Katie. That looks fantastic.
Yes, representing Doctor Who.
Yes, we gotta represent the Doctor Who. Bow ties are cool. Yes, but to our guests, we have with us. I'm not going to do your last name, Christina, because I'm pretty. Wait. Maybe I'll try.
You got
Christina
it.
Rienzi.
Perfect. You got it.
Yes, Christina. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. And then we also have Miss Adelaide Thorne. How are you tonight, Adelaide?
Good, and I'm really impressed that you pronounced Adelaide right because most people are super confused when they read my name, like they've got no clue. And I'm sorry I missed the Doctor Who memo. I would have pulled out a shirt or something. Oh well.
Well, there's still time. Maybe we'll have a intermission or something.
Yeah.
And then
Real quick.
and one of our good friends, and we've talked to you a number of times, both on our show and on your show, Miss Heidi Angel. How are you doing
Hello,
tonight?
everybody. I'm great. Glad to be here.
I really like that cool pirate banner behind you. That's lovely. It really is.
It says something about my personality. I'm a nonconformist.
I thought you were going to say it's because you board people's ships and murder them and steal their loot.
Jack Sparrow did not murder anyone. I'm just saying. Also, he's represented right there.
Oh,
nice.
yes.
Very nice.
I'm the famous pirate. Yeah. Nonconformist.
All right. Well, Katie, you had a little bit of a plan for tonight. Will you tell us what's going on?
Absolutely. We've got 3 representatives here of different parts of the writing process. So we're going to kind of touch on each one. Adelaide has just released her second book. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, great. And we've got Christina who does writing coaching, which is something that we definitely need as we're preparing to release a book. And then once the book's released, we've got Miss Heidi here to represent our marketing angle. So a little bit from every side of the spectrum. So let's start off with the number one step, writing. We'll talk to Christina first about her writing coaching and how she works to help others.
Sure. Hi, guys. Thank you again so much for having me. So yeah, I'm a thriller author and also a writer coach. And I just finished this year, my year-long program in becoming a writer coach. So yeah, I really work with writers and people on clarity in what they want to write. So clarity in their story, clarity in their characters, clarity in who they are as a writer, and help them come up with a schedule, hold them accountable to that schedule. And they have to hold themselves accountable as well. And then we work through what the blocks are that are holding you back from being successful, whatever success means to you, as well as moving forward in your story, whether it's getting, your schedule going at all, whether it's you're stuck with a character, you're stuck with a plot piece, or really you're just stuck in general in the business. So it's really working through those blocks so you can overcome those obstacles. And then, of course, hopefully at the end coming out with, the ability to meet your goal, to have been better for it. And all of those things, of course, also apply to your characters, which is really interesting. But so I'm working with authors and writers at all stages in the process to just be very clear about what they're doing in their writing and their life and being able to overcome the things holding them back to success.
Now, when you're working with an author on a novel, say, are you reading that work along with them, or are you giving advice from outside of their work?
No, you know what? I don't even give advice. I ask a lot of questions. So my whole philosophy, and I think the philosophy of coaching in general, is that the person that you're coaching has all the answers inside of them. It's just getting them out, right? It's asking the right questions to get them out. So if they're stuck with, something that they're working through in their story itself, I, having been, going through this process as a writer, I'll know a little bit more of what questions to ask, obviously from the writing standpoint, but also from the personal standpoint. Usually what's holding you back isn't really your story. It's you. It's your ability to go somewhere in your story. It's your ability to get out of what you think you should do versus what you want to do. And really, writing a story is about what you want to do, right? Like getting that story that you want to grow and come out of you. So a lot of it is just, it's internal blocks we have within ourselves holding us back. But yeah, it's asking questions and knowing what questions to ask. And sometimes it's, there are exercises we can do and things to kind of get to the heart of what the issue is. But it is really amazing when you ask the right questions of someone, what will come out.
Interesting. Kind of like having a knowledgeable sounding board.
Yes.
For things that are going on in your life. Okay. Well, yeah, I can get behind that for sure. It's the same idea as having a counselor in your life. Sure. They might not be telling you do this or do that, but they're listening to what's happening in your life and helping you work through it on your own.
Getting clarity about it. And I'm listening like real. And so my background is in counseling. I also do have a background in counseling, but luckily I'm not using as much of those skills. I'm using more of the listening skills and validating and acknowledging skills there and open-ended questions. But what I'm listening for is a shift in your energy. Like if you're talking about a decision you have to make. So this can be used really simply for even a decision. Like, do I write that horror book I want to write, or do I write that cozy mystery? Like, I don't know what I want to write. And I'll listen for a shift in your energy, and I'll point it out to you and say, like, wait a minute, when you're talking about a story, like your voice changed, like you're really coming to life. Like, talk to me about that. Because many times we don't realize, and I get this as a writer as well, is I'm doing a lot of times what I think I need to be doing. I'm not always doing where I'm being pulled. And there is a balance between that, obviously. But when you're pulled to a story and that story is feeding your soul and you're getting so much energy from it, and it really like makes you get up in the morning to write or stay up late at night to write, there's something to be said for that. And I think you don't always know that about yourself. Like, we're so professional in the way we go about this business, and everything is so structured and there's a way to do things. And then there's the creative side, right? There's the business and the creative side. And so what I'm tapping into is that creative person inside of you that's trying to get that story out. And I'm also trying to tap into what's holding you back from sitting at your desk. Like, what's stopping you? Is it fear of failure? Is it, you don't have that confidence? Where does that come from? And I think a lot of times when we figure out where it's coming from and what's holding us back, it's a lot easier for us to address it and move forward. Because let's face it, we all go through this, right? Like, we are all going through this together. And, it's just staying in the game and really just, making sure that we're being true to who we are as writers, and making sure that passion stays alive and we're able to keep that going. Because, as we're going to talk about, on this show, is there's a business side of it too, and we have to meet our goals. So there's a little bit of both.
I like that you're touching on both sides of it, because not only are you touching to the creative side and motivating, but there's also the accountability too, yes, which is, something we all kind of need a nudge every now and again. And kind of, that little, hey, how come this isn't done? Or, your deadline's coming up. What have you done so far? Mm-hmm. Gives you that push. A lot of us, especially creative types, we're not procrastinators per se, but we do kind of push to the last minute. And if we don't have that person nudging, or that, that external force nudging us towards the goal, we let it slide. We take longer to do it. Or sometimes with a lot of aspiring authors, they just don't get there.
Right. You don't do it. You don't finish the first draft. You don't do what you need to do to get yourself out there. A lot of times we just don't even get out of the house. Let's face it, it's hard to even just get out from behind the laptop sometimes. And so it's the accountability, but it's also like, why? Like, if you didn't do something, why didn't you do it? And there's a reason, there's a reason behind it. And there was a time that I remember even going through like a story I just wasn't meeting my goals on, and it wasn't the right time. For me, it wasn't the right time for the story, but when I got back to it, it's because there was an issue. There was an issue in the story. And getting to that, it's like, why aren't you moving forward on this? your brain knows, but you might not know. And so when you start asking the right questions, it's like, okay, well, I'm not really working on the story because I have an issue in the plot or the character. I'm not feeling it. And then, working with them through that. But certainly if you know that somebody is going to you're going to have a call with someone every week on Sunday or Saturday, let's say, and they're going to ask how it went. And I'm not judging. Like, if you didn't do it, you didn't do it. There's a reason. Let's get you to do what you want to do, whatever that is, right? Because that's what's important, is that you're doing what you want to do and you're moving forward in some ways that makes you feel good and keeps you doing what you want to do. But knowing that you have to explain that sometimes is all that's needed to get you to do it. So I feel like it's a symbiotic relationship. It's not that I'm, going to be like, well, you didn't do that, you're a bad writer. It's like, well, why didn't you do that? What's holding you back? There's some reason. And many times it is the story. But a lot of other times it's you, so it's, and you have to face that. And I've had to face that. I mean, I have a coach myself, and I have to face that a lot of times. It's like, I have to admit to myself why I'm not doing what I need to be doing. And many times I'm holding myself back. Bottom line, holding myself back, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of everything. It's powerful. And the things you don't do actually say a lot more than the things you do. So I just really try to empower writers to get themselves out there, to put their heart on, out there, and to do the best that they can. Did you lose me? There we go.
Uh-oh, we lost a little bit of the video feed.
Ooh, I'm coming back. There I am.
There you go.
So anyway, I hope that you got the end of that. But yeah, just to be the best they can, empower them to be the best that they possibly can and what works for them.
Now, do you find that the clients that come to you for help, are they more new authors or seasoned authors who are maybe struggling through their second or third book that, the first one came easy and the last one just isn't working?
So it's funny because I had a couple of newer authors come to me and their issues were different. They were really like, where do I get started? Wanted more consulting, like, where do I get started? Where do I go? Why do you want to write a book? So it was more of that. I think the real coaching stuff, I've been dealing with authors who have some books out and are stuck. They're stuck, they're struggling. And what ends up happening is they usually come to me in a flood of nothing's working. It's not just writing my whole life. I've got this issue, that issue, everything's falling apart. And I'm not being creative anymore. And I don't know what to do about that. Creativity is just not coming for me, or I'm not where I want to be successfully. And I don't know what to do. Do I go back to work, or do I still quit the job I was going to quit to write full time? And it's usually like, I get them at like a point where it's like everything is converging and it's going to explode. And it's because a lot of times what I'm learning is the creative piece isn't being fed. So everything is falling apart. Like, it's just, they look at their life and it's like, oh my God, all these things. I'm not exercising. I'm not eating right. I'm not, seeing friends. I'm not doing, if I have a day job, the day job is bad because that creative piece is suffering. And so I find with us creatives, right, when you feed that and you feed your soul and you do that kind of creative work, the other stuff starts to fall in place. And then you can deal with rejection. You can deal with things not going your way, or maybe not as quickly as you'd like them to, because it's important to you. And I'm telling you, I would say one of the major things I see across all different, and I deal with all different kinds of writers. Like, I deal with writers of different things, not just novels, like all different kinds of writers, comedic writers, writers of novels, writers of all different kinds of stuff, like people who are creatives, right? And they have that creative piece. And I find that a lot of it is inner stuff. It's like inner obstacles. We hold ourselves back, and it's a common thread. And no matter how confident we can be on the outside, there's that piece inside that, holding ourselves back. So it's just, I'm trying to get to the heart of that, get them back on track, hold them accountable, and make sure that we're moving forward in wherever they want to go. And as small of a step as they can take is progress to me. But yeah, I find it's more authors who, or writers that have some experience under their belt. They've got the burst of excitement when they were new, right, in the business. Now they're in it a little bit and they're like, oh, all right, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or things aren't moving as quickly as I thought, or like, oh, my friend or, so-and-so is so much more successful than I am. What am I doing? It's that comparisonitis. It's that getting stuck. And like, now what do I do? It affects everything.
Yeah. Well, Heidi and Adelaide, have either of you ever experienced any of this being kind of stuck and not knowing where to go from there with your writing?
My
Yes.
problem is that I flip from genre to genre instead. So, most authors, most writers struggle with finishing their first book. And once you get through that, they think, oh, once you get through your first book, you'll be fine. Yeah. Or you'll struggle staying on a series and jump from series to series and end up with 5 series and 3 different genres and 2 books in each series. And your fans are going, hello, when's the next one coming out? And you're like, I'm working on that one over there. Sorry. Squirrel? What?
Yeah, for me, I've noticed now that I have, 2 books out now, and I'm working on the 3rd one, I feel so much more pressure to write well. Before I wasn't thinking about being published, so I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just write whatever I want. And now I'm like, oh man, my editor's going to read this, people are going to read this, and I can imagine it, and then I sit down on my computer, in front of my computer, and I'm like, and I just can't get it out. So that's my problem now. It's just feeling the pressure of oh shoot, real humans are going to read this other than me.
Yeah, well, and especially because your publisher is wanting more fiction that's within that same genre that you've already written. So, even if your brain is like, oh, I got to get out of here and do something else, I'm freaking out. You're kind of locked in there. Okay, well, I need to write book 3 and I need to write book 4, and so it could be tough, especially if you don't have a plan for that far ahead.
Just the balancing act in general of being a creative and then also the business of being a creative is hard on a lot of us. We want to write what we're passionate about, and we also want to sell that. And, when you're writing and you're enjoying it, but you're not selling, then you feel the pressure on that end of it, and that can drag you down. Then you put more effort into the selling of it, but then you're not writing, and that's dragging you down. So you've got that constant act of which do I pay attention to? What's more important? And what's actually going to make you feel good too.
Well, yeah, and our publisher, Adelaide and I actually share a publisher, and their model when it comes to advertising and sales and what they want to do is not to necessarily try to get a ton of sales in one day and then nothing after that because your ad has run out. Their model is more, they want to try to get every book to be selling at least a couple copies every day. And their interpretation of the algorithms at Amazon is that if a book is selling, a consistent amount every day, even if it's a small amount, that it's going to do better in the overall rankings. But I am not a marketing person. I am very, very ignorant when it comes to marketing. But we do have someone who's knowledgeable at marketing here with us. So Heidi, what do you think of that kind of strategy, or what kind of strategy do you recommend? Because for a lot of us, small-time authors, be it indie authors or small press authors, there isn't always a ton of money in the budget every month for dumping into AMS ads or Facebook ads. So, how should we be approaching this?
So it's always great to have lots of sales, obviously. But if you have a choice between having 100 sales on release day and then nothing for the rest of the month, or having that 100 sales spread out over the course of the month, then your publisher is absolutely right. You want to spread it out. Because with Amazon's algorithms, if you get high rankings and then your sales plummet, you drop faster in the rankings than you do if you have a steady, consistent number of sales. And with our right side, we kind of take a traditional publisher and indie publisher approach at the same time. So with a lot of traditional publishers, they focus on the release is over, you're done and you're out. And they're moving on to the next book. And if you do well, great. And if you don't, well, keep marketing your book, because if you don't get more sales, then you won't get the next contract. But we're done. We have to move on to the next new hot thing. We have the big releases. We do anywhere from a 4-week to 6-week tour, just depending on how many stops we can get to promote the books. We reach out to tons of book bloggers. We do a Facebook event, and we do e-newsletter campaign. And then we continue doing AMS ads for them after the book releases. And we encourage them to do every quarter, do a mini book tour, usually about a week. And we encourage them to do it around a sale. We suggest that they do it in relation to something that's related to the book. So for example, with my series, the Health School series, it's about a stalker. And I always do an event in April because April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and those two often go hand in hand. And so I'll promote Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I'll have a week where my book is on sale, and I will get 3 or 4 new reviewers to do reviews or do some sort of promotional, letting their audience know that I have it on sale. And then we're also encouraging them, just because you're not doing a tour doesn't mean you shouldn't still be reaching out to book reviewers, because book reviewers leave reviews and regular readers don't really. I mean, you can ask them to, and if you build a really strong base, but you're looking at 5 books out by the time you have that base. So a lot of the authors we're working with, this is their first or second books. They're very new. And so we're focusing on helping them build their audience, building their platform, and getting those long-term reviews and building that up. So yeah, I think that answered your question.
And what do you find, because you're talking about book tours, blog tours, do you find that those are helpful, or how do they help? Is it mostly just getting bloggers involved, or what does it do for an author?
Yeah, so it depends on the type of things that you reach out to. I hate to bash blog tour companies because a lot of them, I don't know, I haven't worked with a lot of them, but I know a lot of them, they use the same people over and over again. And so it's not necessarily as effective. Once you've used them once, then trying to use them again isn't going to help you out, which is why I encourage authors to build their own lists. Or if you take my virtual book tour master course, you get a list of over 1,000 book reviewers, booktubers, podcasters, and all of that funness. And you're building a relationship with them because they are what's called an influencer. They have audiences. And just because they tell the audience about your book doesn't mean the audience is going to run and read your book. If they review the book and they give it a good review, that makes it a little bit more likely. But the goal is to have them share about your book and then have some sort of a teaser that gets them to come to your group. So we do a lot of Rafflecopter giveaways at the Facebook event. And the tour is all about getting those people to come to the Facebook event so that they can enter that giveaway or those giveaways and get on that. And part of the giveaway thing is that they have to like the author's Facebook page or like the author's Twitter page or sign up for their e-newsletter list or whatever. So we're working them into the sales funnel. The blogger is giving you an introduction. It's your job to then take that introduction and continue networking with that person and continue building them into a fan and working them down your list, not only to getting the sale, but then to moving into a loyal supporter that will then tell everybody that they should read your book, because they might not be a book reviewer. They might not have a huge audience, but ask yourself, the last time you picked up a book from the store, was it somebody who recommended it to you? Or was it because you saw an ad? 9 times out of 10, it's somebody recommended it to you. And half the time that's bloggers, but the other half of the time it's your neighbor that you read with or your coworker who's like, oh my gosh, you have to read this book, it's amazing, right? So that builds that, and that doesn't cost you anything but time. It really doesn't. You know, if the book reviewer is asking for you to pay for a spot on their stuff, then they're not a legitimate book reviewer. So that literally should not cost you anything. Now, if you want to advertise on their sites, that's a little different. But if they're asking you to pay for a book review, or if they're asking for you to pay for a blog post stop on their tour, then they're not legitimate, and that's not something that you want to work with.
So there's a lot of time investment involved in the marketing. And just like we said with Christina, there's that balance that you're trying to create to continue being creative as well as selling your books. And that tends to drive a lot of people into madness.
Yeah. We advise.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. We advise the authors that we work with that you want to spend half of your writing time, because most of you guys have a full-time job And we understand that and we respect that. But if you have 20 hours a week that you can spend on writing things, half of that should be spent on marketing, building your audience. The other half should be spent on writing your next book. Yeah, got to keep that balance.
Okay. Let's ask Adelaide real quick, since you just released a book. How have you come into this release? Have you done a marketing plan? Has your publisher helped you, or has it been a lot on your shoulders to get this book out?
Yeah, so I'm still trying to figure that out. We came up with this BOGO idea: buy the first book, get the second book free. And we put that on the publisher's website. I've been running that through my website, and I did Facebook ads. And it's like, you know, you think, okay, I pay for ads and it's just going to be like golden, and that like doesn't happen, you know. By the way, Heidi, you said half. Like, that's super depressing to me because I would just so much rather just focus on the creative side and like forget about marketing. And that has been a huge struggle for me. Like, I like think about marketing. I'm like, oh, I should get on Instagram, or I should plan out stuff. And I'm like, I'll just write instead. So I guess, sorry, I have a question. How do you like get your brain to wrap around like, no, I really need to do this and stick to it? Because that's my problem. I'll like have a marketing spurt, you know, and then I'm like, oh, good for a while. I can forget about it.
So for the marketing spurts, because I'm guilty of it too, I sympathize. I recommend that you do as much automation as you can so that you're consistently putting stuff out. Yeah, I don't, okay. Because I work for OWS as well, I used to be like total love social media and spent all my time on social media. Not all my time, but a lot of time. And I got way too many accounts. And then I joined Our Right Side, and my free time to market went way down. And so I am guilty of Sunday night, I schedule posts through as long as I can get them out. And then Facebook, I check into every day. Google Plus, maybe twice a week. Instagram, whenever I think to while it's on my phone. But I have those posts scheduled, so my audience is still seeing that consistently being fed to them. And then the same thing with blog posts or like Patreon. I'm on Patreon and I post one post a week, and I get spurts, and I just schedule it all and try and get as far out as I can so that I don't have to worry about it or stress about it. And then I put reminders on my phone so that I don't wait too long past when I'm supposed to do it again.
Well, no, is there an app that you use for scheduling? Is there an app that you use specifically for scheduling?
I personally prefer Promo Republic for pretty much everything except for Patreon. I just schedule directly on Patreon. And then I'm thinking of going to Hootsuite to schedule for YouTube, because I heard that they now have that on Hootsuite again. But yeah, and then I also use a tool called Missing Letter for my blog posts. Missing Letter is really cool because it allows you to schedule one post 9 times throughout the year so that you're getting evergreen content repeatedly out there. And it's super easy, super great. And it's like $9.99 a month. So I do that for my blog posts where I have authors come on and do interviews or character spotlights, or when I do my book reviews. I don't do it so much for tours because that's not really evergreen because there's a certain deadline on it. But just for regular stop-ins, I do it for those.
Now, what is the program you said you use for scheduling?
For scheduling, I use Promo Republic.
And will that schedule for your personal Facebook page as well, or just business pages?
Promo Republic is amazing because it schedules everything. Okay, not everything, but it feels like everything. You can schedule for your personal page, professional page, your groups, your LinkedIn account, your Instagram account. You do have to have your phone, and you have to send it from your phone, but it sends a reminder to your phone so that you can post. And
can you compose the post on your computer and it sends them to your phone, or do you have to compose them from your phone?
No, you compose it right there in the computer. It's absolutely amazing. Actually, if anybody wants to check it out, if you go to Facebook group OWS Author Anonymous. I actually did a presentation on this back in October. And I show you exactly how Promo Republic works. And the thing that I love about Promo Republic is you can actually create everything there. So a lot of us, we use Canva to do like our book quotes or our review quotes or whatever. You don't even have to use Canva anymore. You can literally do it right in Promo Republic. They'll keep your branding stuff all together there so that you can do it. It's absolutely fantastic. And then you can download it to save it for later or to send to media reps, just like you do with Canva. It's amazing. I love it.
Well, and that would be so helpful to me because I can schedule stuff out, of course, on my Facebook business page, but nobody really looks at that. They always interact with me on my personal page, but of course on Facebook you can't schedule on your personal page. So that would be
a key tip.
What's that?
Share from your business page to your personal page. So you schedule it out, and then when you get comments or whatever, then you go in and you're responding to the comment, and then just share it to your personal page. It's perfectly allowed within the Facebook guidelines. And you will see triple the number of views on your posts when you do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give that a shot for sure. Yeah, but Promo Suite. I like the that's what we're calling it, right? Or did I get it wrong?
Promo Republic.
Oh, in Hootsuite and Promo Republic. Man, that's a tough name. I need something easier like Prolific Reads. Ridiculous name. Come on, people. That's ridiculous.
Okay, but here's the big question though. What is the cost of using one of these services?
Prolific Reads.
So with Promo Republic, I think a starting campaign is like $9.99 a month, or you can join AppSumo and wait for the AppSumo ad. They do a sale once a year, and that's when I got it. And I got it for $50 for lifetime.
Oh, that's a steal.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And Amanda Hester's the one that put me onto that. So
AppSumo does the deposit photos deal too once a year, and that's definitely worth getting.
Okay.
Oh, they do we've gotten a bunch of deals. For those of you who would like to make book trailers, but it's all too complicated, they have 3 different programs that they do AppSumo things for. One of them that we use regularly is Lumen 5, I think is what it's called. And that one's great because you can actually sync it to your WordPress. And whenever you have a blog post, it'll send recommended videos for your blog post. It basically builds a video for you. It's so awesome. And then there's another one that we got called Rocketium. And that's what we use for our book trailers. And both of those cost us $50 for a lifetime memberships. So yeah, AppSumo is a great way to save money with marketing.
Perfect.
Interesting.
I'll have to remember that. Write that down, Jason.
Yeah, AppSumo. I've never heard of it before, so I guess yeah. Where have you been all this time, Heidi? We needed this information back in 2012 when I got started.
I was just getting started myself, and I was focusing on readers, not writers. That's why he didn't know who I was. Well, I started in 2011, but still. Yeah, I was focusing on building my readers audience. Now I'm focusing on helping authors too, because I see a lot of authors struggling with that, and I sympathize. It is frustrating because it feels like it's completely different. But part of what I do in my courses is that I teach you how to treat marketing like you're writing a story. And when I put it in those terminologies and those phrases that you guys are comfortable with and familiar with, all of a sudden it doesn't feel super salesy or spammy. It feels just like writing a story. So, and that's really what you're doing with marketing. I mean, most marketers wish that they could create stories the way the authors do.
Interesting. I don't quite get the market like you're writing a story. I mean, it sounds nice, but I don't get what you're trying to say with that.
What I'm saying is that you're telling a story. When you're marketing, you're telling a story, just like when you're writing a story. And so you have to decide what your brand is and what you're promoting. For example, my brand is An Angel's Life of Bookish Goodness. It's all about awesome bookish goodness. And that's everything that my stuff is about. And I'm focusing on not only sharing my works, but sharing all the other amazing indie authors that I find and I experience. And so readers connect with me more as a reader than they do as with an author. Whereas Rick Royden, his brand is mythology, and mythology with a twist. And he focuses all of his marketing and all of his promotion around creating mythology with a twist. And so you focus on whatever that piece of branding is that you're looking at, and you're telling them that story, and this is who you are. And yeah, I'm more than just a book reader. I'm more than just an author. You know, I have all this other stuff that's me, but that stuff doesn't come into the story that I'm telling, because it's just confusing backstory that they don't really need, right? So you decide the story that you want to tell, who your brand is, why you're doing what you're doing, what you love about it, and then every piece of marketing that you create should be around that.
Okay, so we're gonna have a Sherlock Holmes moment. And when I say Sherlock Holmes, I mean Robert Downey Jr., because I wish he was my dad. So it's easy for you to tell me what your marketing story is, because you've created this world. And Royden, I mean, he's super popular YA author, so he's also easy to peg. But let's talk about Jason Lavelle.
Okay.
My story. I write thrillers that have a little paranormal twist to them. Give me an example of how I can take that, and how do I build a marketing campaign around that? How do I create that?
Okay. Do you want to focus just on the genre that you're writing and get pigeonholed into that genre? Or do you want to focus on selling you as an author? Because for some authors, they're not comfortable being the focus. And so trying to make them the brand, I'm not comfortable being the focus.
Well,
and that's what my brand is about, being a reader. For me, I feel like the books are far more interesting than me, but at the same time, it doesn't matter either way. You know, we've had on lots of podcasters before, and you know, we always exchange advice, and they're always saying, you know, sell yourself. That's what you need to do. But that's what I'm asking. How to create this, you know, because a lot of us, if you're not comfortable selling yourself, and this is, you know, it's kind of like what Christine was talking about. A lot of authors, that's why they avoid writing, or that's why they avoid marketing, because they're not comfortable with selling themselves. But they can talk about their books all day long, right? They love their books. Their books are awesome. So don't focus on you. Focus on your books, but don't make it salesy. Make it fun, because your books are fun paranormal twists, right? So focus on creating that world. A perfect example is, how many of you guys know A.L. Mabry? I think is her publishing name. Amanda Lynn Hester.
It's not Hester anymore. Now she's got a fancy new name.
She's Hester now. She went back to Hester. She was Mabry, then she went back to Hester.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's fun. But her whole, but it is a shtick, and she didn't even realize she was doing it. She was building a brand without ever meaning to. Her whole thing is that she likes to help people, and she likes to help through sharing inspiration and through laughing at her stuff and sharing, hey, look, you guys think I have it all together, but I'm not any more together than you guys are, right? And that makes her really relatable. She wants to be relatable to people, and that's how she sells her books. And her books are all about people that are in horrible situations finding their way out of it. Mm-hmm. That's what she writes. So that all fits together really nicely. So you find what your thing is. How many of you guys know Amy Litkus Phillips? I think I'm pronouncing that right. I know her on Facebook, but she is a fantasy writer who's a huge Doctor Who fan. And that's her connection. That's how she builds her audience. It's all Doctor Who people. Her book is fantasy, but it has a lot of the same themes and a lot of the same elements. And she focuses on that thing that she and her audience have in common. And that's a love for Doctor Who. So you just have to find that thing that you will stay committed to, that you that doesn't feel inauthentic, because you always want to be as close to you as you can be. That way it's more real.
Okay, I've got it, Jason. Here you go.
All right. Let's hear it.
You love Doctor Who. You like going out and talking to people. So you can cosplay as your favorite doctor, Matt Smith. And as you're cosplaying, you could be solving a murder mystery at each event you go to.
I like it. I like it. That's interesting.
Record it, create some scenarios, post about it, and then you create a mystery around yourself.
I like it. Well, you know what, Heidi, you've made it a lot of good points, and it's a lot of good stuff for everyone to think about. And yeah, I want to open this up to the panel here, because it's something that I don't have a lot of experience with here. Over the past few years, whenever I post on Facebook, I try to always post not necessarily messages of positivity, but I always try to keep my posts positive. I try to never post anything negative, because that's not me. And pictures of animals and my kids and, sales on my books and stuff like that. Normal person stuff. However, last night I made a post about a negative experience I had at the Comic-Con I was at this weekend, where an author stood me up for an interview, and I was a little perturbed about it. I thought it was quite rude. And I got more interaction on that stupid negative post than I ever do on anything positive I post. Why is that?
So, and I'm going to chime in just because I'm like bubbling up. I'm like everything Heidi was saying. I'm like, I love, because I love hearing the perspective from the marketing standpoint, because I'm always thinking about like the person, and I love like knowing there are multiple sides to this. But so I'm listening to you, and it's about who you are. Now, you might not be comfortable promoting who you are and you being the brand, just like Heidi said. Not all of us are comfortable putting our whole self out there, but when you do, people pay attention. Negative, positive, whatever it is, if it's authentic to who you are and it's unique to who you are and what's important to you, whether it's negative or positive, people are like a magnet to that, because your true fans are drawn to the real you, who you are. Now, that doesn't mean you have to put your whole life out there. I'm not saying that at all. I'm an extremely private person, but I will guarantee you, anybody who knows me online and in life will tell you, I love my wine. I'm a huge winey. Like, I love my wine. I post about wine all the time. My dogs are my life. I love my dogs. I do share inspirational stuff. Obviously, I'm a writer and I read books, but there are certain things that will jump out. Like, I love my paranormal stuff. It's who I am. It shows up in my writing, but it's also who I am. So what you're comfortable sharing, you share, and you will be a magnet for those people that are also want to engage with you on that. And that is like a combo of, you're getting those readers who love your stories, right? Because they love your stories. So they're there anyway. And maybe somebody who hasn't read your story, but really is intrigued by you, something you said, something that upset you, something that angered you, something that you're passionate about, right? You care, you have integrity. This bothered you because you have integrity and this is important to you. People pay attention to that. So I think if we think less about like promoting ourselves as our brand, because we are our brand in many ways, who are we and who are we comfortable sharing with the world? That person, get him out there. Get him out there and get him talking, because those people are going to come to you and they're going to read your books. I've had so many people reach out to me just for me being me on Instagram. Like, I barely promote anything on Instagram, but I'm just showing up. I'm showing up with my wood burning stove that I absolutely love, with my dogs, with my wine, with like my husband, with my friends, like the things that are important to me. West Virginia, that I went there. I love that. And people go, oh, you're a writer? Even though I say author everywhere, my books are posted. I'm going to read your book, or I'm going to do, it's just connection. So yes, there's a whole marketing piece that Heidi's awesome at, and that's where you have to go to that, go to her for those specifics. But what I'm hearing is you shared you and people responded.
No, Adelaide,
that your brand, Christina, is the girl who loves the wine, the girl who loves her dogs, and who writes. That's your brand. And you created a brand that is that.
Right, without even realizing it, right? I didn't do it on purpose. It happened. Yeah, you're right.
Yep, absolutely.
You're right. It happened. And trying to find my brand, I couldn't figure it out. I was literally trying to figure it out. And I'm like, who am I? What do I write? What do I do? And it just happened.
It's not necessarily what you write. Exactly. It's who are you?
Who am I?
That's the question.
Sure. Absolutely.
And Adelaide, you've been quiet over there. What do you think of all this? How does it relate to how you interact with potential readers on social media? What is your strategy that you've been using? You said you do marketing in spurts, but as far as normal day-to-day posting, do you post a lot about your personal life? Do you post a lot about your books, or how do you roll?
So it's funny because right now I've written is sci-fi, so I feel like I should have like a darker, edgy, grittier personality, but that's actually not me. So like my main social media that I use is Instagram, and so most of my photos are like really bright, and I try to be like peppy and kind of dorky. Like I talk about my cats a lot. So I've been thinking, Heidi, because of what you're saying, I'm like, so should I try to wrap myself around what I'm writing? And like the idea of like dressing up, you know, for paranormal stuff, like should I have darker, edgier photos? Like, do you have to identify exactly with what you're writing, or can they be separate? That's my question.
You can be the really cute, sweet, bubbly girl who kills people horrifically. Ask Gail Mabry. That's
Definitely.
what she does. And I gotta tell you, that's like I knew Amanda from our Right Side group. Super sweet, super nice, super bubbly. And then the first story I read, and I knew she was Wiccan too. She's Wiccan. And then the first thing I ever read of hers was the story that it's about a girl who uses witchcraft to kill a bunch of people to write a story to end up on the New York Times bestseller list.
I love it.
And I was like, that is so creepy, because that is not the Amanda I know. And it actually makes me love her writing even more. I'm not really into horror per se. I like more thrillers, but I love Amanda's horror because it so does not even match the incredibly nice, sweet, wonderful person. And people like that juxtaposition. So yeah, you can be, you know, I tend to write darker paranormal thrillers and things like that, murder mysteries. And most people, they're like, oh yeah, she's the nicest thing in the whole wide world. Joe Compton, who's in our audience, when I read his book, I was kind of horrified. I was like, oh my goodness. And then my husband met him and he's like, this guy is like the nicest, coolest guy. I don't like.
Joe's a teddy bear. What are you talking about?
He just makes you open up. And I was like, yeah, you should read his book. And so I made my husband read his book, and he went, that's some serial killer type level shit right there. You know, so it's totally fine to be the nice, helpful person and write dark stuff. You don't have to match the genre.
Right? You are.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. And you want to make sure that who you are is your brand, not. I mean, you can focus on what you write if you don't want to focus on yourself, but you don't want to make yourself appear to be like Marilyn Manson. You know, he has this persona because of the type of music that he does, but the real person behind Marilyn Manson is kind of boring, geeky dude.
Well,
his cool. They're real people, right? Like we're the three-dimensional characters we're writing about. Like this is real life. We have these interests that could be dark and scary and whatever. And then this is how we show up. I show up in life and I'm like trying to help everybody that comes in my path. But if you read my book, I'm killing everyone. Like I'm literally like working through some dark stuff in these stories, but we all are who we are. And we write what we write, and that's okay. It probably broadens your audience, Heidi, right? Because you've got the people that like you for the thriller, and you've got the people who like you for your cats and your dogs. So I think it might even broaden you a little bit.
Well,
yeah, absolutely. As long as you're authentic, and that's the key. There is you want to be authentic. If I try to be the always cheerleader, never telling people what to do, I would fail miserably, and it would be really inauthentic, because although I do encourage people, I'm also brutally honest and incredibly direct. And while that turns off a lot of authors, pretending to be something that I'm not would be disingenuous and would hurt them even more. If I'm like, oh yeah, your book is absolutely amazing, there's nothing that you need to change. That's like the worst thing an editor could do.
Well, think about it too, from what we talked about right back to the very beginning, where we said that the creative versus the job side of this, you know, being an author as a business tends to drain on you. Think of how much more work it is to have to pretend to be someone else on top of that. You know, make your life easy. Be you, do you, and write.
Oh yeah.
Well, and since we're talking about what we write, I'd like to kind of go down the line and hear from everybody on what it is they write. kind of tell us a little bit about your books. And we haven't heard all that much from Adelaide tonight, so I'd like to start with her. Adelaide, would you tell us a little bit about your books?
Sure. So I'll just show you.
This is Mr. Sparkles,
here.
by the way.
Aw.
It's really distracting, but actually my cat is like down here. So I'm like, should I bring her up? Like, should we all just bring her
Aw.
up? Anyway, so this is book 1 and this is book 2, the blue one. So it's a trilogy. I'm working on the 3rd one. It's young adult sci-fi, but it's not hard sci-fi. You know, it's not aliens and spaceships. It's more X-Men, Divergent-ish a little bit, but it's not post-apocalyptic. So it's a little tricky to explain. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
I don't know.
When did book 2 release?
So this came out on Monday, Guy Fawkes Day, the 5th of November.
Excellent. Can you give us your you kind of gave us a little background. Can you give us your one-line pitch for your new book?
Well,
Your short blurb?
I don't want to spoil the first book. Okay, I'll just say.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Give us your pitch for the first book then. We don't want to spoil the first book.
Okay. So I'm just going to read this because I can't come up with on the spot. Okay. So
I can't either.
Grifters
Don't feel bad.
Yeah, I know. People are always asking me what my book's about, and I'm like, I have no idea. Let me read it to you.
Words and stuff.
Exactly. So it goes, the Grifters kidnap any metahumans living outside the MTA. Only this time they missed. So Grifters are these humanoid creatures. I don't know if you can kind of see this guy right here. And you've got your average, normal girl who thinks she's clumsy, and she wakes up one day and she's not clumsy anymore. And weird things are happening. She feels weird. People are watching her, blah, blah, blah. Enter the Grifters.
No, not blah, blah, blah. That's not. No.
It sounds really interesting, right? You want to read it? Yeah, I'm really bad at explaining my book. I'm really bad at writing synopses. I can't.
Oh, I am so glad I'm not the only one, because I drive our editor nuts, because he says, send me the descriptions. I'm like, dude, you've got the book. That's all I got.
We have to introduce her to Josh and have him teach her how to do the elevator pitch. Remember how he was telling you, Jason?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We've talked about this a lot on here, Adelaide. It's a problem for a lot of us.
Mm-hmm. I know, why is that? We write this book and then we have no idea how to explain it. I'm like, okay, have you got an hour? Then I can just read it.
2,000 words, no problem. 200 words,
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because you can do it for other people, right? I can write back cover blurb for other people all day long, but I struggle with writing my own, and I specialize in ad copy, because trying to condense a 60, 70,000 word book into, it's just crazy. I sympathize.
Yeah, and it's something that if you're a slow writer like me, it's something that I spent a year of my life creating, and to go ahead and say, put that into 2 sentences, it's almost insulting. It's like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Well, one of the tricks they always say to employ is use comps. Like for mine, I always say the Agents of Asset series is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. meets Supernatural.
Yes,
and to work with that helps.
Yeah. And I just did an interview with a lady today, and I actually went and recorded her panel as well, where she was talking a lot about that. And it really made me thinking, okay, I really need these 2-party comparisons for all of my works, because people see them, people get it. And I think one of hers was The Godfather meets Firefly. And I was like, boom, I know exactly what this book is going to be like. I'm in. Sell this book to me right now. So I was like, but it's stuff like that where people can instantly recognize it. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I like both of those. That's me. Or I didn't like either of those. I'm moving on to the next table. And that's okay. But yeah. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Heidi, tell us about the books you write. Heidi.
Sorry, yeah, I was muted because I was typing, and yeah, sorry. So So I have several different series. The Hunter series is for those who believe that vampires should be killed and not kissed. And the Clear Angel Chronicles is a young psychic, has no business in the detective world until she does. And the good night, Joe. Sorry. Joe's heading out. What did I share? Oh, Hell School series is actually based on my experience with a stalker in high school. And then I have the Survivalist Bible series that just released, and it's all about surviving the apocalypse when the most dangerous thing that you have to survive isn't the zombies, it's the humans.
Excellent. And Christina, oh, there you are. Were you getting a refill?
I had to grab my books because I'm like, oh, they're here. I might as well grab them, right? Like, just makes life easier.
Yeah, well, you're in perfect timing because you're up next, and I know you're a thriller writer like me. So I'm interested to hear what you got for us.
Sure. So I write thrillers, new adult thrillers, actually. And I don't have my second book, but my first series was published in 2014, is Choosing Evil and Breaking Evil. They're supernatural thrillers. My next was, I have supernatural and domestic thrillers. So these are two domestic thrillers. I wrote Learn Shadows and Winter Road. And then I have short story compilations. This one is a little bit of everything, twisted. And my latest new book, because the Choosing Evil and Breaking Evil just came out, but I got my rights back from my publisher, so that was like a re-release, is Among Us, which is a government conspiracy thriller. So I write all different kinds of thrillers, typically in the new adult, which is like the age range of my characters between like in their 20s, I would say, that little genre. But yeah, fast-paced thrillers. There's a lot of twists going on and just fun. All about the branding stuff. I say typically, like, my tagline is embrace the unknown, just because when I really started going through my books and figuring it out, it was like, that was what it was all about. It was about facing your fears, embracing the unknown. And shockingly, that's a lot of the way I live as well. So, so it all ties together. So
awesome. And Katie, we've heard from you so much, so very much.
That's I'm quite right. You don't need to hear from me anymore. Jason, you had one that recently came out too, didn't you?
I did. I've actually had 3 new releases, and they're all paranormal thrillers. I'm supposed to just say thrillers, but they do have paranormal elements in it. I like to write magical realism, so all of my stuff is grounded in the real world, the same world that you and I live in. However, there's supernatural or magical forces that interact with the characters, and I do it that way because I like to feel like when I'm going through my life that maybe there is something extra out there that I can't always see that, swoops in and interacts with us every now and again. And so that's kind of the feeling that I want to give my readers. So that's what I do. But Katie, you have got what, 89 titles now, something like that?
It feels like that some days. No, I've got 5 separate series, and I have a deadline on the 15th. I must get book 3 to the editor. So I have like 40,000 words left on book 3 in the Agents of Asset series that I have to finish revising between now and the 15th. So I'm like literally pulling my hair out. That's the one that I said is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. meets Supernatural.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be really cool when you get it finished. Did you kind of bust through some of the sticky parts that you were trying to get through?
Yeah, that one section that I sent you that I was really just crying over, I was literally in tears because I had spent so long trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B. And in my mind, I know what the character will do. And I know sometimes the character doesn't make the smartest of decisions.
That drives me crazy.
Exactly what I thought she was going to do. And then my beta readers came back and went, no, she's too stupid to live if she does that. I'm like, oh, shit. How do I fix it? So I was crying to Jason. I was crying to Jacob. Like, how am I going to figure this out? And then both of them were like, you can do this. You can do this. You've got this. And I don't know if it was you or Jacob that I just sent the word fire to. And
that was me.
That's it. Use it.
Yep.
Just set it all on fire.
And that was great. And that is a good example. And I know you weren't trying to make this point, but it's a good example of how using friends and other authors or readers as sounding boards to bounce things off of, holy crap, can that be useful? I mean, it can save your ass. You know, when you feel like you've got nowhere to go, just ask friends. I mean, this is a solitary business, but that doesn't mean that we can't be social. We can ask for help. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, I've got half a dozen, big 5 authors on my Facebook and Twitter that I interact with all the time, and they're always asking each other for help or ideas. I'm like, you know what? If they can do it, why the hell can't we? We can do the same thing.
Yeah, finding your tribe is super important.
It is. And I think that Amanda Mabry, is it Mabry or Mabry? And now it's Hester.
Yeah.
Amanda Hester. Yeah, and she was one of the first people on here that was really talking to me a lot about finding your tribe and how important that really is. And it is. So we got to find your tribe.
The company is all about. That's what our right side started out as, was just authors supporting authors, and then it turned into authors supporting authors with courses and with publishing and with, but the whole core of everything that we do over at OWS Inc. is building that network and helping each other find each other's tribes.
And I think that for anyone out there who's watching her or who may watch this episode in the weeks to come, if you're out there and you're struggling and you don't have a tribe and you're looking for one, any one of these people that you see on the screen right now, shoot us a message, send us a friend request. We'd all happy to be happy to be part of your tribe because it helps us grow. It really does. So reach out if you need to.
Definitely.
And when all else fails, fire.
That's right.
Right.
Fire,
Burn it all.
the fire.
Set it on fire. I love it.
Oh, well, guys, we are at about at our time for the evening, and I think that's probably a good place to wrap up the show, don't you?
Yeah, excellent spot. Thank you all for coming on. This has been a really great and I think informative episode for Spilling Ink.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been good.
Thank you for having me, and I learned a lot, and I like how the last thing that we left off with was fire. Like how inspirational. Burn everything. Fire.
Oh, Rebecca. Oh, Rebecca Jones.
I was just
No, Rebecca, you can't join our tribe.
Somebody did want to ask a question of Adelaide. They were asking, what color is your next book cover going to be?
Oh,
That's
and I shared because I wanted to.
Okay, so there's a reason this is red. So the main character and her best friend wear a red ship bracelet, and this book is all about Ella saving her best friend from the grifters. And in the second book, it's got this guy on it who has blue eyes, and a lot of the book is really focused about him. So the third book's going to be really focused about these other people, and I just have to figure out their color, but I think it's going to be yellow or green. What do you guys think? Yellow or green?
Green.
Green jumped out at me as soon as before you
I was
said
thinking
the color.
green.
I said green in my head.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. That's what I was thinking. You confirmed that.
Wavelength here.
Yes. There's another dog.
Another
Yeah.
one.
This is Lady. She's our evil German dog. She's kind of a
adorable.
jerkhead. She's just a jerkhead.
Lucy's at my door. One of mine just came to my door, but she'll bark. And there's Lola. Hi, Lola. You can't because they're like, hey, mommy's at work. No.
Well, to all of our guests tonight, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a wonderful episode. And for all of you watching, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I'm going to have all sorts of cool footage from my Comic-Con this weekend and from Katie's that I'm gonna help her get up over this next week. And if you subscribe, they'll send you a handy little notification so you can come and watch. But for now, we are all set, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.